So I have, I think, was it 5 minutes, 10 minutes to give you an overview of the knowledge services here across the agency. And so, you know, I was thinking when Pat Timkins got up and he was talking about, you know, looking around is innovation. So my opening slide here is when you're looking around, you're innovating, you're capturing and sharing knowledge just by virtue of being in this room. And ideally, if Ralph would fund this to happen, say, once a month, and we get the travel dollars, we just get together and share our knowledge, you know, face-to-face in person, on the coffee breaks, over a beer or something like that, or karaoke with Ed Rogers. But without doing that, there are some other tools that are available across the agency that we have for capturing and sharing knowledge. And there actually is a document, a knowledge policy document, that defines 6 different categories of knowledge sharing tools. So what I'm going to do is just briefly touch on those categories and some of the tools in those categories. There was a gentleman from JSE who came to Kennedy last month to speak, and I stole this slide from him. That was a good slide, so I stole it from him. And he talks about sort of this distribution of knowledge that's out there, and it was really about crowdsourcing. So we all tend to think that this little part of the curve is our center. Maybe that's KSE or JSE. We're sort of closer to the end of the tail of the grouping of smart people, the smart knowledge. But the quote here from the founder of Sun Microsystems is that all of the smart people don't work in any organization. So even if you are sort of closer to the tail end where all the brightest knowledge is, they all aren't in one organization. So part of our innovation and knowledge sharing is to collaborate across those smart people and utilize that knowledge from other people that may not be within your organization. So the tools I'm going to talk about are helping us to tap into that knowledge from across the organization, across the NASA family, across the NASA centers, contractors. So our former Chief Knowledge Officer, Ed Hoffman, before he left, wanted us to create this knowledge map. So here is, if you go to km.nasa.gov, there are points of contact. There are people at the various centers and mission directorates who can help connect you with various knowledge so that we have lots of electronic systems that are available for capturing and sharing knowledge. But I think part of the picture is to connect with people. So there are CKO identified in the mission directorates and the centers. And you can go to this km.nasa.gov and find somebody who may help you connect. Maybe there's 3 or 4 different degrees of separation between you and the knowledge that you're looking for. Just go to the knowledge map and you'll find them. I know that most of the work at NASA and across the NASA family happens in a project or a program. So I thought I'd try and talk to you about some of the knowledge sharing tools in relation to the project management cycle. So when we talk about the beginning of a project initiation, all the way through a project closeout, there are various tools that you could use for doing some knowledge sharing and knowledge capture. And maybe when your project first starts out, the first thing you do is do a search of a lessons learned database to sort of find out what's the past history, what's the state of the art, what knowledge is out there. As you get your team together, I think a good thing, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the coming slides, but when you get your team together, maybe you get a case study discussion where you get the team together, you can talk, you can exchange ideas, and everybody's centered along those lines. And as your project maybe gets to the 60% design review later in the project, maybe you're going to do a pause and learn, or an after-action review would be a good tool to use to share some knowledge. And if it's a long-duration project, getting together and having sort of a presentation, an outbrief, a knowledge-sharing forum might be a tool that you use to get some of the knowledge out there as well. And then when we get to the end of the project, of course, there's your lessons learned report. And Patrick Johnson, who is the Chief Knowledge Officer at the HEO Mission Directorate, is going to talk to us about some video knowledge capture. So there's lots of different tools that we can use to get everybody up to speed and sharing knowledge. And I think Preston Jones talked about, you know, transferring the knowledge from the fresh outs to the gray beards. If someday I get the funding to develop this knowledge capture machine where we just sort of put that hat on the gray beard and it transfers it across to the fresh out, maybe that's going to happen. But right now we don't have that. I think that was a Star Trek episode. So we have to meet together in person and use some of these other tools to transfer the knowledge. Because when you get to the end of your project, what happens, especially in some of the research projects, everybody's off to the next project, the knowledge goes right out the door, and we don't want that to happen. So we have to use these knowledge tools that I'm going to talk about to transfer and capture that knowledge. So one of the tools, or one of the categories, is called online tools. And there is a great risks library out there that you can go and find. And it's actually outside of the firewall. And if you go to this website here, you can find knowledge articles and artifacts related to various WBS elements of a project. So if you're looking for knowledge or lessons learned related to different parts of your project, based on the WBS, you can go here and find knowledge items that way. There are documents and videos that all line up with different stages of the project. So that's a great online tool if you can't come in person and do some knowledge sharing. Another online tool that I'll highlight is the NASA Engineering Network. As Patrick said, I'm the program manager for the Lessons Learned Information System, which is housed inside the NASA Engineering Network. And a previous presenter talked about Brian O'Connor talking about some of the knowledge sharing and how important it is. There is a YouTube video where he is talking about getting the context around requirements. If you get the requirement without understanding why that requirement was built, was created, or where it really applies, you might not have the whole story. So if you go to the NASA Engineering Network, you can pull up a lessons learned and find out a standard that's related to, or if you search the NASA Technical Standards System, you can find lessons that tell you the story. Well, there's a standard that says we need to do certain things around pressure vessels, and here are lessons learned that sort of led into creating that standard. So it gives you the rest of the story, the big picture. And that's one of the online tools that we have available. In addition, when I first became the program manager for the Lessons Learned system, I was thinking we could get all of the knowledge into one Lessons Learned database. If you've worked at NASA for more than a month, you know that's not going to happen. But the NASA Engineering Network searches across 20 different repositories. So linking the metadata across the various repositories, we're able to crawl across these. And that is a big benefit for using this NASA Engineering Network. You can link to some of these other databases and find lessons. And that's one of the online tools that we have. Another online tool is Ask an Expert. The agency librarians have a network where you can email them. Did I go too far? I did. Can I go back? There we go. The agency librarians have a network where you can email them a question, and they will do the searches for you. If you don't do a lot of database searches, having the right synonyms and syntax and knowing where these databases are might not be your forte, but you can get some assistance from other people that will help do these searches. So take advantage of the Ask an Expert online or the Ask a Librarian. They know what the databases are, they know how to search, they know the search terms to put in, and they are funded and available to help you do some of these online searches. And that's another knowledge tool that's out there that you can take advantage of. Oops. Let's go back to the, here we are. So the different categories for knowledge sharing, one of them is case study discussions and online publications. So as you get to a certain point in your project, getting people together and talk about what's happening is very good for a knowledge sharing activity. And there are online libraries in your program. I think on page 34 is a listing of some of the resources. You can actually find that Goddard has a very detailed library of case studies. Marshall is publishing a couple case studies that are available online as well. So there are cases almost for a lot of different topics. You can pick and search that topic, and there is a mission that NASA maybe has encountered that situation. Get your team together and discuss it and analyze it. I like to get people together and create sort of a mind map. The real meat of this activity is walking away with what do you take away from the situation. Going back to my Star Trek, where they have the holodeck, I wish we could get you in there and have a full fidelity simulation. This is very low fidelity, but yet it's just as powerful, where you get yourself in that situation, you read the case study, you talk about it, you say, how does this apply to me? How does it apply to this project that I'm starting on and working on? And what can we take forward? What are the lessons learned? So this is one of the knowledge sharing tools, and it's a great way to transfer and share the knowledge, especially with some of the newer people that are coming in. Having them walk through some of these cases of previous missions is really helpful to get them centered and socialized into some of the NASA lessons learned. So another one of the categories is knowledge networks. And this network that I'm showing up on the screen is the NASA Engineering Network. Our Chief Engineer's Office has funded 26 different communities of practice, and these cut across the centers and across the agency. So these are groups of people that are sharing knowledge and deepening their understanding of a specific discipline. From the chart up on top, you can see, I think, JSC and Goddard are the largest contributors to these communities, but they're open. You either ask the moderator of the community for permission, and more than likely they'll admit you into that group, and you can go to be part of the knowledge exchange. You can see from the graph here that almost every day, maybe 3 or 4 people are on this community website talking, exchanging knowledge and sharing. So this is a great way to share knowledge through the knowledge network. If you're not going to be face-to-face virtually, you're still bringing the newer people on board up to that level of proficiency by interacting with various discipline members as well. Another category of face-to-face knowledge services is the pause and learn activity. Again, at Goddard, they are very pronounced at doing these pause and learn activities. And the knowledge map, I think Barbara, Philip, and Ed have got a really good process. The benefit here is you're sitting together, you're talking, maybe how well did the test go, what worked, what didn't work, what can we improve. It might result in some sort of a document or an entry into a lessons learned database. Maybe it does not, but the benefit is still that you've gotten together and you've talked through some of your lessons learned, and the individual project members can benefit from that knowledge activity. So again, another tool in our toolbox for knowledge sharing. One of the other tools I'll mention is the knowledge sharing sessions such as this. And anytime somebody at KSC announces their retirement, I contact them right away and try and get some of these people to give a presentation, have a knowledge sharing session. We get graybeards who will sit around and sort of share their knowledge. In addition, though, some of the young professionals will do storytelling and even teams report out or technical presentations, capturing those. And back to Ed Hoffman, his Masters with Masters is online on YouTube. You can go to this, subscribe to the channel, and look at all those online discussions for these knowledge sharing sessions. So just one of the other methods that we use for knowledge sharing. What else? Of course, I'll mention the Lessons Learned Information System. This is outside of the firewall, lois.nasa.gov. If you can see the chart there, their hits are continuing to increase month over month. People around the country are looking at these lessons and are continuing to get benefit from it. So it's a great system, and if you are on a project, providing your lessons to the database only furthers this knowledge, and it's a good way to get the knowledge the broadest distribution as possible. You can see some of these major programs have put together their knowledge lessons learned reports, and those are available at lois.nasa.gov. One area that is kind of on the forefront that the CKO community is working towards is trying to make the access to this knowledge even better. So I know at Langley, they are working with the IBM Watson team to understand some of those computational processing tools, the cognitive computing. It'd be nice if I could talk to my computer, it would listen, recognize voice recognition, recognize the natural language processing, spit out a visual depiction of maybe the relationship between some of the search terms that I put in there. Those are some of the areas that we're working on improving. Also, I think one of the previous speakers talked about having all this data, and I wish I could get information from it. So if we could get the reports out in an information format. So I'm typing in a search term, and it comes back with the people who have authored that document, what are some of the players, what are some of the systems, what are some of the actions, what are related lessons learned. This is kind of the forefront that we're working on to improve the access to the knowledge systems that we have out there.
Who do we contact?
Yes, Dave Meza at the Johnson Space Center. He is funded by the Chief Knowledge Community and also works very closely with the CIO's office. I didn't mention that we work with the CIO's office on another system called NASA Tube, which will enable us to upload videos, and we'll do the captioning. So you can do full text search of those videos, and it's a great benefit to people with disabilities, because these videos are captioned, and you can search across maybe a 4-hour video and find exactly where somebody spoke about pressure vessels or parachute problems, and hear that versus having to sit through hours and hours of video if you know that it's in there.
So each of us within the divisions, organizations, kind of have a specialty. Ed Rogers does the case studies and pauses and learns. Michael with the LLIS, and he's probably a little broader experience than some of the others. But we, within HEO, really focus on the video capture of critical knowledge and lessons learned. And really that was coming from feedback of, we don't necessarily have time to sift through documents and read long write-ups about some lessons learned. So we have taken the approach of doing an hour-long video interview with subject matter experts on a particular topic or a few topics, and we'll split those up into theme-based 5 to 7 minute video nuggets that are available, and you can watch, you can get the information you need, and it'll link you up with additional documentation resources. So you can stay at high level and get broad surface level information, or you can kind of dig within a specific topic. So we've got that across programmatic and technical areas. You saw the KBR library earlier. Those were developed by our predecessor, Dave Langle. So he's got a lot of technical videos there of what was the problem, how was it mitigated, and what recommendations would you have for the community. I know there's some COPV lessons in there, so that would be a really good website to search through for those. But I'm going to show just in a moment a video that we've launched, the Critical Knowledge Gateway, recently. So this was a response to, you've got a lot of videos, we've got a lot of resources. How do I find one place to get a lot of this information? Easily accessible, not behind the wind chill, ice firewalls where people don't have the passwords to get to the information. They get frustrated and give up quickly. So we do have a public-facing site for that. We go through a rigorous interviewee review process to make sure they're comfortable with the content before it gets released. We also go through the export control and ITAR process to make sure we don't release any sensitive technical scientific information. Been working to improve searchability so you can find exactly what you're looking for. So we've had technical subject matter experts tag each of these videos, these 5-minute videos, with very specific keywords so that those can be searched in the Critical Knowledge Gateway. We've also added advanced filters and search capabilities to enhance that search ability. We do have current content here. We've got Constellation Ares 1X content. International Space Station, we did a capture with them, I believe it was 2015. We were just wrapping up a commercial orbital transportation system, COTS capture we did with SpaceX, Orbital ATK, and the NASA Program Office. Dr. Rich Williams did a capture a few weeks ago to give the crew health and medical perspective. And we've been able to do some limited knowledge capture here with some of our practitioners today. So I'll give you a couple stats about the website. We've got 250 videos. Some of these we were ported over from non-public websites into this one location that's findable and searchable. We launched this in April of 2016, so 6-7 months ago. And we currently have over 85,000 unique page views for these 250 videos. So putting it online, getting it on our NASA-sanctioned YouTube channel has really promoted the accessibility not only to our NASA civil servants, but to our industry contractors and other stakeholders. So we've got about a 4-minute video, so we'll walk you through the functionality of the Critical Knowledge Gateway, and then we'll take a few questions at the end.
Practitioners have access to critical knowledge when they need it, now and in the future, to learn from the past and increase the likelihood of mission success. The NASA CKO website, located at km.nasa.gov, houses technical and programmatic lessons relating to this objective. The Critical Knowledge Gateway is housed within the NASA CKO website, and its primary purpose is to improve capture, integration, and transfer of critical agency knowledge in response to the 2011 Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel recommendations. The critical knowledge capture and transfer activities take on various formats, from videos to written documents, with the goal of publishing that content to a publicly available domain, the NASA CKO website. The CK Gateway serves as a portfolio connecting the NASA stakeholder community and the general public to a vast array of NASA lessons learned and best practices. The Critical Knowledge Gateway landing page, shown here, serves to provide quick and easy access to the content through a variety of avenues. first of these avenues is the critical knowledge themes, shown here. These themes are intended to organize content into high-level categories, providing an overarching taxonomy through which to identify content. The Critical Knowledge Gateway also provides a way to conduct a keyword search for content, thus allowing users to have a free-form browsing experience driven by your individual terminology and definitions. If you desire a more structured approach, you can use the Advanced Options feature, which provides additional taxonomies upon which to identify and browse content. This can be used independently or in conjunction with the keyword search. The Video Highlights section of the homepage showcases new and trending videos from the Video Interview repository. In addition, the Tag Cloud offers a social approach to browsing critical knowledge content. These topics are populated based on the number of times someone has selected a video or entered a particular search term, respectively. Some of the Critical Knowledge Gateway content is available in standalone multimedia program knowledge modules. These modules can be viewed independently using the links available on the Critical Knowledge Gateway homepage for deep dives into a specific program or mission. To demonstrate how you might access content, we will select the Systems Engineering Critical Knowledge theme. On the results page, shown here, we see all of the content associated with that particular theme. The additional critical knowledge themes are displayed across the top of the page, and the keyword and advanced options are also available to further narrow the search results. Depending on the search, many results can be returned, and the pagination controls allow you to scroll through the video results, which are ordered by the number of times a video has been viewed. Clicking on a video will display the video player. The video title and full description are shown, as well as any taxonomy terms that have been associated with the video. Closed captions and other common video controls are all available within the video player feature. When you have finished viewing the video, or if you decide to look for other content, the video can be closed, returning you to the search results screen. To demonstrate filtering your search even further, we will add a keyword term. Now we are viewing all critical knowledge content associated with the systems engineering theme and referencing the term design. If you'd like to start over, you can either reset your search or use the home icon to return to the landing page. We hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of the Critical Knowledge Gateway. If you have any questions, please contact Patrick Johnson from NASA's Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate.
So, any questions regarding Critical Knowledge Gateway or other knowledge services for Michael Bell? Jennifer, thank you.
Actually, so you talked about a lot of great.
There you go.
Oh, it's for video. I'll use my official voice. You talked about a lot of graybeard capture, and I think I caught something, but what about starting with the young folks coming in and infusing what they bring into what we're doing? So how about helping the graybeards? And then the other question follow-up is, this is where we can go to find knowledge capture, but how do we incorporate it into what we do every day so that we can generate our own stuff to contribute or use?
I'll hit the first question. How do we incorporate some of the newer young professionals or people on board? If you notice on the one slide, we do have the knowledge sharing sessions. One item I didn't highlight is the NASA Connect system, which is sort of a mentoring system. If you're, and it goes across all of the centers. So if you're at any one center and you're looking for a mentor to connect with and exchange knowledge, you can find them and connect with them. And some of the young professionals really like the idea, how do I find somebody to connect with that way? I would also say in the communities of practice, newer employees are encouraged to do that. And, you know, we're also investigating some expertise location systems so that you can find expertise across the agency that way. So there are a couple different ways. We just need to get the word out to some of the younger, newer employees on what they are. And this presentation, I actually talk to new employees at the Kennedy Space Center every time there's a new group to encourage them to use some of these tools. And so your other question was, how do we incorporate these tools into our process? There actually are requirements in the program project management process that talks specifically, I think it's 720.5, 7, and 8, all talk about during the decommissioning phase of capturing knowledge and putting it in some sort of having a knowledge capture plan. I would encourage you, when you're starting up your project, though, to do the same sort of searching and case study discussions, and when you're creating your project plan, is to put milestones on there for those pause and learn sessions for the 30%, 60, 90, get your team together maybe for a half day or maybe just for an hour session to say what worked and what we can do to share the knowledge or do things differently.
I think what's more important, I need something?
You need your microphone.
Okay. What I wanted to, I think one thing we lag is we do have a pause and learn, and we document what we learn. But if we also at PDR, CDR, make it mandatory that thou shall, in each section, thou shalt tell how they have used lesson learned or knowledge up to now. What is the unique feature which they implemented due to that? Then you have this continuous inculcation of using it. There is a lot of write-up about how to write the lesson at the end of it. But in terms of how to be using during the program and project, I think there is very little process-wise we have injected into it. So it may be important to inject it in the process as we are doing it. Not just the lesson learned, but how we are applying the lesson learned.
Agreed.
Already.
Modeling that activity, and as we get to those, asking how was that used and where is it going to be used, is going to make this the requirements documents actually used and make it real.
Yeah. I'm just giving you an example because I noticed when one or two times I was involved that it becomes very hard saying, hey, let's talk about how did you use the lesson learned system before you start designing this or when you brought this design at the PDR or anything like, and it becomes, and it's hard to change that part because most of the people are only looking, but the requirement is to document, pause, and learn.
Agreed, and the more we talk it and walk the talk, it's going to become a culture change.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's culture. It's the reason we cut out a little time for this program to highlight some of the things available. I mean, in my perspective, we showed you the list of folks. Reach out to those folks in your organization. They can link you up with the requisite knowledge or within probably a day or two's time to help you find some of this content. So I agree. It probably is, at the milestone review, is appropriate to look at some of the issues you're having and then do a search. So I think that's appropriate timing. Yeah, one more question.
Yeah, the first part of the question is the video content. Is that expected to be produced by at the centers or at the group that's doing the work, or is there some form where we say we have something to report and you would help us create a video? And the second part is, I think it's really important that the video content definitely have a text explanation. It all be converted to text because that's the searchable material that can be found rapidly.
I completely agree. So I'll take the first one. I would say probably contact us within HEO. We have the process to do the video capture. So, and we've worked with the Crew Health and Medical Office outside of HEO to do some limited capture on this. So we have the process. We have a great team. Sam, Steve, and Jason Clemens are here. They're doing some capture today. So it's pretty efficient. We can turn around through the review process and get that posted in a timely fashion. We do the 5-weight compliance, so and do transcribe it into text. So that is available as well.
Patrick, did you want to mention about NASA Tube again? I'm not sure.
I think that's good. So there is a new initiative. It started out as JPL Tube. It was proprietary to JPL. They would put some of their knowledge sharing sessions up. They would be codified into text based on the words that were spoken in the video, and they were searchable to that point in time. So you could jump, I think, 5 seconds before the term that you searched for was mentioned. So there's a small initiative to take that from JPL, expand it to NASA, and hopefully that will get traction within the CIO's office to get more funding to be applied to broader content. But what's the timing on that, Jennifer?
It should be coming out soon. They did beta test it recently. And just, it's like YouTube for NASA. And so if you have things that, I'm not sure if they have the ITAR area or not, but if there are processes and things that are, you can, share with the public, then you could put those things up, like maybe process that you're doing or something like that, and they would be accessible like YouTube. So like if you want to know how to build a shed, you can go to YouTube and find out. So this would be just another format to be able to find information and how to do things and capture it that way.
Yeah, and even to build upon that. So if you want to know where to, put the frame to build the shed, if you search for the right keywords, it'll put you right there if you're looking at an hour-long video. So it's just another enhancement using the current technological advancements to help us connect us with the information we need when we need it. So thank you all for...
Patrick, I just say one thing.
Sorry.
I think Jennifer was making a point. I don't want to lose it, and I think it's important in this forum. So when we talk about lessons, or we're talking about in the context of getting lessons just from the experts and the graybeards, but I think we got to realize we can get lessons from the early career folks too, especially the way they look at things, and don't want to lose all of us, right, from learning from them as well and getting their perspective and understanding, what we're doing. So we just want to make sure we're looking at that as the whole group of folks that we can learn from.
Excellent point. Thank you, Don. All right, Greg. Sure.
Michael, I was really intrigued by your chart where you quoted the Sun Microsystems chief, which showed the curve and the folks out to the right, I guess, of the dot, who are experts in an area important to us but are outside of our organization. And it got me thinking, we do a lot of stuff like we're doing this forum to share knowledge within. I was glad to see we invited a couple of our contractor partners in. But how are we doing on bringing in lessons from outside NASA that may pertain to what we're doing?
Yeah, I stole that chart from Steve Redder, who's at JSC, who's over the crowdsourcing program. So there is a system where you can capture, or encourage people from outside of NASA to help work on projects and to help solve those projects and submit solutions. I'm drawing a blank on the actual website itself. But actually, they will run a prize and a contest to get people working on the project for you. It's already funded. So the people submit to your problem and solve it. And they get rewarded, and you get the benefit of their knowledge. And it's something that's across the whole country and outside of NASA. So it's part of the innovation initiative to utilize the wisdom of the crowd. And it's a whole program of using the one NASA at Work program. So it's called NASA at Work, and it gets people across the agency, plus people outside of the agency, to help solve some of the problems that we have. And we're incorporating the other part of the curve to help solve some of our problems.
Yeah, and just in conclusion, just to add on to that, Greg, before he left, Ed Hoffman would benchmark with other organizations internationally and in the commercial sector. I know, for instance, Boeing had a really robust expert locator across all of their divisions. It was a powerful tool. So as that function, I think we're out getting a new chief knowledge officer soon. So some of those benchmarking activities and bringing it back in and sharing it with their organizational representatives is a way to try to continue, pushing the curve there of what's going on in the industry.